Hello and welcome. Today we will be giving you a presentation on coding of interviews and the research we conducted using these methods of coding. We will begin with a small explanation of what coding is, followed by an introduction of the company we researched. After this, we will explain how coding was of use in our research and then provide a short summary. Coding is the process by which researchers break down parts of the interview into terms that are easier to use and understand. Through coding, the responses can fit into the framework the researcher is working with. As an example, a respondent's answer may use slightly different wording than another's, but mean the same thing. For this, the researcher can assign a code, which will then tell the researcher under the category of code he can put the response. This is the open code also shown in step 1. The Excel code shown in step 2 identifies the relationship among codes to group them. These are further classified to the selective code in step 3, which is the variable which all data is relevant to, for example, the main focus of the research. Let's have a better look at the steps on an individual level. Open coding is the analytic process by which concepts, codes, to the observed data and phenomenon are attached to qualitative data analysis. Open code aims to develop substantial codes describing, naming, or classifying the phenomena under consideration. Open coding is achieved by segmenting data into meaningful expressions and describing them in single words or short sequences of words. Axial coding is the breaking down of core themes during qualitative data analysis. Axial coding is the process of relating codes to each other. The basic framework of generic relationships is understood to include categories related to 1. The phenomenon under study, 2. The conditions related to the phenomenon, 3. The actions and interactional strategies directed at managing or handling the phenomenon, and 4. The consequences of actions and interactions related to the phenomenon. The choosing of one variable as the core concept, around which other categories from axial coding phase are grouped, for the purpose of explaining the phenomena which has been observed. By assigning the code, the researcher makes it easier for himself to understand and arrange the data. The researcher does this by using an explanatory scheme, which is a chart with the in vivo codes, the properties and the examples of what the respondent has said.
Hi, how are you going? My name is Steph, and I'm employed as a project manager for Holland Building Maintenance. The business was founded in 2012 and currently employs around roughly 20 people. We have 2 branches within Holland, one located in Barendrecht, Rotterdam, and the other in Heerlen, Limburg. HBM specialises in Legionella, contract management, housing inspections, and plumbing. Holland Building Maintenance has a strong emphasis on quality assurance and risk management, and is here to ensure that everyone within Holland has access to clean, pure water. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
We were able to gain access to the company Holland Building Maintenance through one of our group members, whose boyfriend works as a project manager for the company. We conducted 4 semi-structured thematic interviews. The employees were chosen using non-probability sampling and purposive sampling techniques, as our goal was to gain access to employees on different fields of expertise in the company. While conducting our research, our goal was to investigate the relation between job satisfaction and job performance. The research question that we formulated is, what are the effects of job satisfaction on job performance? As can be seen on screen, as we read through the interview transcripts, we first created open codes for words and phrases which were related. In this case, common emotions. For example, stress and enjoy were mentioned multiple times. When these or similar words and phrases were used, we created a code and added it to the explanatory scheme. Once all interviews had open codes, we then searched for similarities and overlaps in meaning of the codes to then further assign them to axial codes. Let's now look at an example of coding in our research, step by step, to see what this means in practice. In one of our research questions, we asked respondents how they experienced team spirit in the organization. In step 1, we analyzed 3 different responses to identify open codes. We noticed that 3 respondents mentioned the following points in their answers: need for better communication, need for better coordination between departments, need for clarity in tasks they are responsible for. First step of coding is trying to identify the open codes. We did this by relating similar quotes across respondents and categorizing them into so-called open codes. When we relate the responses in this example, the following codes are determined to be need for better communication and need for more clear job instructions. Now that we have identified open codes, we can order the data into axial codes. Remember how axial coding was used to relate concepts and categories? Thus, in step 2, we take a look at open codes and determine the axial codes. When we look at code's better communication and clear job instructions, we see that we can group them into one axial code, namely internal organizational relationships. Now, in step 3, remember how we said we'd only use one interview question to come up with the codes in step 2 and 3? Of course, this is not the only interview question we asked. So, for example, another axial code that was determined in the analysis was job security. When determining the selective code, we tried to categorize all axial codes in the research. In this case, all axial codes lead us to the selective code, job satisfaction. In this slide, you can see the overall result of the step-by-step coding used in our research. Step 1, we determined the open codes, better communication and clear job instructions. In step 2, axial coding, we categorized these two open codes into internal organizational relationship, which became one of our axial codes. In step 3, we used the axial codes from step 2 among the 3 other axial codes and we grouped them into the selective code, job satisfaction. As demonstrated, the objective of coding is to create ease of use and simplicity from complicated and hard to categorize data. The use of open codes allows for the researcher to translate the response into terms understandable to them. The use of axial codes allows for researchers to combine responses and categorize them into related groups, which are then useful into the goal or main theme of the research, i.e. the selective code. Thank you for your attention. We hope our presentation contributed to your life. Feel free to ask questions.